attack yesterday and today from John McDonnell and Ken Clarke has led to some speculation about Parliament becoming a means to force the government into reaching a deal over leaving the European Union. In particular, McDonnell talked about amending the withdrawal bill to stop the UK leaving without a deal. Such a view is at best highly disingenuous. Article 50 isn't like most negotiations. In those, the parties are working from nothing to something, trying to find an agreement on something new to do together. That means everyone can decide to stop negotiating and walk away if they feel it's not worth it anymore. By contrast, Article 50 is a reverse process, going from something to nothing. Basic intention of Article 50 isn't like most negotiations. In those, the parties are working from nothing to something, trying to find an agreement on something new to do together. That means everyone can decide to stop negotiating and walk away if they feel it's not worth it anymore. Its basic intention was to protect the rights of a member state to leave the EU if it so desired. Thus, once that state has said it wishes to leave, then it will leave, either after 2 years, or sooner if a mutually acceptable deal is found. It was designed that way precisely so that a departing state wouldn't find itself locked into endless negotiations that effectively frustrated its sovereign rights to leave. Therefore, the default state of affairs in Article 50 is that the UK will leave in March 2019, with or without a deal. But that deal is one that is jointly agreed. It needs not only the approval of the UK, but also of the other member states, and of the European Parliament. Meaningless gesture as such, even if the withdrawal bill could be successfully amended to require the British government to conclude a deal. Parliament can't force any of the other parties to agree to that deal, so it would be a meaningless gesture. Indeed, it might be argued that it would worsen the situation for the UK, since it might lead the EU to offer a deal that was very favourable to its interests and much less to the UK's, if it thought that the government would be obliged to sign up to it. Such a lurid scenario is not on the cards, not least because the EU itself has a variety of positions about what it wants from the process, and because it would poison the well of future EU-UK relations for many years. What power does Parliament hold, however? This still leaves the question of what powers, if any, Parliament might hold at this stage of affairs. At present, the only possible way that it could avert a no-deal scenario is to vote to stop Article 50 altogether, and have the UK remain a member of the EU. While there is much legal debate about whether the UK can unilaterally take such an action, if it were accepted by the rest of the EU, then it would mean the no-deal question would lapse. The problem, rather obviously, is that it would be replaced by a much larger pair of questions. Firstly, would it be legitimate for Parliament to overturn the decision of last year's referendum short of a new government and possibly a new referendum? There would be very big queries about the legitimacy of the move. Secondly, stopping Brexit might escape many of the problems currently facing the government, but it would not address a long-term problem that has so shaped the UK-EU relations. Namely, what does the UK want to get from the relationship? The British have never had a meaningful public debate about how they see themselves in the context of Europe, even during and since the referendum. The expenditure of goodwill and political capital on Brexit so far means that the country is not going to get the greeting of a prodigal son, but rather that of a scapegoat that has stumbled back out of the desert. Dr. Simon Usherwood is a reader in politics at the University of Surrey.